Right now in Geneva, a 93-year-old man has been out of public sight for 48 solid good days. His government says he is fine. His own political party just held an emergency meeting and refused to say why. His own justice minister is publicly fighting over who inherits his power. And the opposition just did something nobody has dared to do in 44 years by formally asking the Constitutional Court to declare the presidency vacant. But here is what makes this story different from a normal health scare. Paul Biya has done this before, over and over, for decades. This isn't a break in the pattern. It is the pattern finally running out of road. That is what we are breaking down today.
Apparemment, il y a des gens qui s'intéressent à mes funérailles. Eh bien, dites-leur que je leur donne un rendez-vous dans une vingtaine d'années.
Most people assume that this is unusual for Paul Biya, but it isn't. A 2018 investigation calculated that Biya had spent roughly 1,645 days, over 4.5 years of his presidency, on private trips abroad, almost all of them in Geneva, at an estimated cost of $65 million. While on his trip, he stays in his hotel of choice, the Intercontinental, with a view of Mont Blanc. This isn't a man who occasionally travels. This is a man who has run one of Africa's largest countries as a part-time job for over 40 solid years, from a hotel room in Switzerland. So before we even get to what is happening now, I need you to understand this. Cameroon as a country has never fully had its president. It's only ever had him in installments. So let's lay out the pattern because it matters. October 2017, Biya is in Switzerland on what is officially called a private visit. While he was away, protests explode in the Anglophone region over marginalization of the English-speaking minority. His security forces respond with violent crackdowns. He doesn't return for 3 more weeks. That crisis never fully ended. It became a guerrilla conflict still simmering till today. September 2025, another weeks-long Switzerland trip. This time, fueling outright rumors of his death, forcing the government to issue a denial. October 2025, Biya wins an 8th term with just over 53% of the vote. His rival rejects the counts. Security forces kill at least 4 protesters in the crackdown that follows. June 7, 2026, Biya departs again, officially for what his office calls a short private stay in Europe. Every single time in this timeline, the pattern is identical. Biya leaves, something serious happens at home, and he simply isn't there for it. So, what is actually different about June 2026 compared to every single trip before it? The length. As of this past weekend, it's been 48 days, among the longest of his presidency. Communication Minister Rainy Sadi denied on June 18 that Biya had been hospitalized in Geneva, but denial without evidence, repeated across 40 years, has stopped meaning much to Cameroonians. A public management professor at the University of Yaoundé put it simply: people are worn out from waiting. And this time, it is landing on top of an already fractured moment. A contested election just months old, dozens of confirmed deaths in the crackdown that followed, and the government, many feel, has overstayed, even by its own standard. Here's where the pattern collides with something very new. In April, 2 months before his trip, Parliament revived the vice presidential post, scrapped since 1972 specifically to prevent a clear successor. Biya opposed to it himself. 3 months later, it is still empty. Meanwhile, Justice Minister Jane Didiu Momo has been aggressively pushing one name for that seat: Frank Biya, the president's son, shutting down a rival's public ambition for the role in the process. 40 years of leaving the country without saying why, and now, for the first time, a family openly fighting over the chair while he is still technically sitting in it. On July 22nd, the CPDM, that is the president's political party, held its emergency meeting. Every regional delegation head summoned to Yaoundé. They walked out having said officially nothing. No agenda, no statement, connecting it to Biya's absence. But 2 days before that meeting, the opposition Cameroon Democratic Union publicly demanded clarity on what it called the continuity of the state. One opposition lawmaker went further, calling on the Constitutional Court to formally declare the presidency vacant. That has never happened in Cameroon's history. 40 years of absence taught this country to wait quietly. This is the first time anyone in an official capacity has said out loud, "We are done waiting." So, is this a health crisis or a governing style finally catching up with itself? Biya didn't stumble into becoming an absent president in 2026. He built the role that way, deliberately, over 4 decades, trip by trip, crisis by crisis, each one arriving exactly when he wasn't there to answer for it. What changes isn't Biya, it's Cameroon's patience. An election that already left dozens dead, a vice presidential seat built and left hollow, a justice minister fighting over inheritance in public, and now, finally, a formal demand that the courts says what the government wants. Paul Biya has always governed the country he was rarely in. The only question left is whether this time he comes back to find it still willing to wait for him. So, I will leave you with this. If a leader spends 4.5 years of a 44-year presidency simply not there, was he really governing, or was the country just governing itself and calling it his rule? Drop your take in the comments. I want to know what you think happens next. If you're new here, subscribe. We break down exactly this kind of story every week. African politics, African history, no sugarcoating. See you in the next one.